Hey guys, welcome. Welcome. All right, y'all, hold on. Let me get comfortable for a second. Let me know if the sound is good. If it's not, tell me now before I get into it. Thank you guys for hitting the like button. I greatly appreciate it. All right, so tonight we're talking about Stefon Diggs. And listen, I already know this is one of those topics where people come in hot. So let me, be upfront. I'm not here to convict him. We already know he's been in these streets. He's been in these streets this year, and now this, you know. I'm not here to defend him like he's my cousin. I'm here to talk, you know. I'm just here to talk about today's breaking news. You guys, I don't know if you guys know who he is. Um, so I will share. Hey guys, welcome in, welcome in. Thanks for being here. How are you doing? So tonight we're talking about Stefon Diggs. I don't know if you guys have heard about, the breaking news, but this is him right here. He's a football player, NFL player. He also has ads with Uggs. He's linked to Cardi B. He does have a baby with Cardi B as well, amongst others. All right. So just in case you didn't know who that was. Hey, Mikey, how are ya? How are ya? Welcome in, welcome in. Yeah, so today's breaking news is Stefon Diggs has been charged with felony strangulation. I don't know. Have you guys heard about that? Of course, I go live and Jackson wants to be loud now. What's new? So I'm going to pull this up on the screen so you guys can see it. Let's see what he has.
will make a decision shortly. We'll let you know when she does. Diggs is expected to be arraigned next month on January 23rd. That is 2 days before the AFC Championship game. In a statement just into the Boston 25 newsroom from the Patriots, they tell us the New England Patriots are aware of the accusations that have been made regarding Stefon Diggs. Stefon has informed the organization that he categorically denies the allegations. We support Stefon. We will continue to gather information and will cooperate fully with the appropriate authorities and the
So of
NFL
course
as necessary.
he's denying the allegations. So that was just a brief statement. And I just wanted to show you guys that for now. Yeah, so yeah, I did. Yeah, I did eat already. Of course you can share my live stream. I appreciate that, Mikey. Welcome in, Matthew, if you're still here. Mac, Edward, welcome in, welcome in. Glad to see you here. So yeah, so most of y'all know who Stefon Diggs is. He's an NFL wide receiver for the Vikings, the Bills, the Patriots. As of late, talented, paid, famous, and whenever someone like that ends up in legal trouble, the reaction is always extreme, right? It's either leave him alone, he's innocent, or I knew something was off about him, you know? And this year alone, many have had a lot of opinions about him, you know? And I don't really, whatever. To me, he's just a young guy being a young guy, you know? Hopefully he grows out of it. I don't know, but I mean, he seems, I don't know if he's happy, he's happy with Cardi. I don't even know if it's a real like relationship, you know, if it's something that's going to be long term or they're just having fun together. But he seems like he's been a little bit better, you know, out of the spotlight, even though he was recently seen with his other children. But at least I could say, at least he's trying to be a dad, you know, so I can't say nothing bad about that. But you know, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, cases like this make me uncomfortable. Not because, you know, I'm scared to talk about them, but because I know how quickly people turn a headline into a full story, right? Let me just leave his picture up here a little bit while, you know, I'm talking. Let me just put my disclaimer for a few seconds. You know, this is the content showed here is under the fair use section 107 for commentary and news reporting. You know, everything I say is allegedly and my opinion. Sorry, had to mute a little bit. Welcome back, welcome back. Thank you for sharing. You had ribeye steak and shrimp on the barbecue with french fries and broth. Dang, that sounds good. Outback. I miss Outback. They closed the Outback that was close to me a few months ago. I don't know why, but that sucks. But that sounds delicious. So yeah. So so people are quick to turn this into a headline, this headline into a full story. And at the same time, I also know how often people dismiss things just because someone is rich, famous, or liked. So yeah. Um I think it's okay to talk about it. People have to know, even if it is just allegations at this point, people do have to know, and be aware. I don't know, lately, all these famous people are always getting some kind of allegations towards them. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if, you know, people think because they have money you know, get they could get close to you or whatever. What you eating?
I eat grape.
Okay. Hold on 1 minute, guys. Sorry, guys. I had to take Jackson's food out the oven. But yeah, you're freezing. It's what, 27 degrees here. It's 27 degrees, but it is a little chilly. But I'm in my house, so I'm hot. um, yeah, so let's talk about what's actually been reported. Stefon Diggs is facing one felony charge of strangulation and suffocation, one misdemeanor charge of assault and battery. This is out of Massachusetts. Strangulation charges, are serious. That doesn't mean guilt, but it's not a slap on the wrist allegation either. And right now, a lot of details are still not public. So anyone online acting like they know exactly what happened, they don't, you know. But a lot of these content creator bloggers, whatever may have you, they have to make their content more engaging so people could go and watch. But if you guys know my channel, I don't like to speculate. I don't like to, make up stuff just for engagement. Either you're with me or you're not. I can't just make up things just to gain engagement. That's like, that's being fake just to get, support. And I'd rather get my support genuinely. And whether I move slowly because of it, it is what it is, you know. But strangulation and suffocation and assault and battery are definitely serious matters to me, you know, and it should be spoken about because regardless of how much money you make, what your position is, you should, definitely be in the spotlight if charges are against you. But I also know that, a lot of people are sometimes they're just in it for money. Yeah, 27 degrees feels like 16 degrees. Yeah, we have like the same kind of weather. I have the same weather here. So, just because you have money doesn't mean that you should be taken advantage of either. A lot of people like to, tell stories just, trying to get something out of a person that's a millionaire, basically. And that's not okay, you know? That is definitely not okay. So if you're just joining, we're talking about the charges against Stefon Diggs, his response, what this might mean for his career, and why public opinion forms way before facts do. We don't know all the facts yet. So anything you see around here is just speculation, just trying to gain engagement, you know? And that's what they want, right? Yeah, but that's okay. We just want to find out, you know, we want to know the real deal. We want to know what's going on. So this part is important. No, this is he has not been charged with something like this before. This is his first criminal charge of this nature. So this is his first criminal charge of this sort. There's no history of prior arrests or convictions for violent crimes. However, and I'm going to say this carefully, there have been past allegations and civil disputes connected to relationships. But civil is not criminal, but repeated situations do shape how people react. So, you know, that's not me accusing him, but that's me acknowledging the reality. Hey, Samantha, welcome in.
Mommy, why you get the food? Jordan?
So, yeah, so he has been accused of, like, you know, disputes in relationships. So, but this doesn't mean that he's guilty of these charges. So I want to make that clear as well, you know. So welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Thank you for hitting that like button. Thank you for double tapping the screen. Thank you for subscribing. So Diggs has denied allegations. His legal team claims are unsubstantiated and possibly tied to a personal or financial dispute. The Patriots say they're aware and monitoring. Translation: everybody's waiting. Lawyers are talking, PR is moving quietly, and us as viewers, we're waiting. We're waiting to see what more they dig up on him, what what evidence they present. But we won't know more until January 23rd. So let's see. I wanna show his denial statement again. According to the police report, a woman walked into the police station on December 16th and spoke to an officer about the December 2nd incident. According to the woman, she had been having an ongoing text exchange with Diggs over money he owed her. The woman says Diggs had hired her in July as a personal chef for the entire NFL season and she was allowed to stay in a room at his house in Massachusetts. The woman claimed she was supposed to be paid weekly, but Diggs had been paying her monthly. She believed Diggs still owed her 1 month's pay as of December 2nd. She said that Diggs allegedly walked into her unlocked bedroom and confronted her that day. She said that they began to discuss this, which apparently angered him. She alleges that he then smacked her across the face. She said that she tried to push him away. Then he tried to choke her using the crook of his elbow around her neck. She said that she had trouble breathing and was worried she would black out. This was according to the authorities. This is not, a fact on my part.
Mom, I want to watch.
All right, go. I'm doing something.
Are you busy now?
Yes, I'm busy now. Thank you.
Oh.
All right, Mikey, thanks for passing through. I appreciate you.
Sure that this doesn't become a distraction for them.
Well, Brianna, I think it's very early in the fact-finding part of this as far as just what happened, how it happened, when it happened, who was involved, and everything else, which we haven't seen or heard yet. So I think that's the first part of it. And then the second part to me is that he categorically denies it when it comes to what happened. So
sorry, I'm gonna
breaking right now on WBZ, New England Patriots star Stefon facing serious criminal charges. We have just obtained paperwork from Dedham District Court indicating that the wide receiver is charged with felony strangulation or suffocation and misdemeanor assault and battery. This is stemming from an incident back on December 2nd. Diggs is scheduled to be arraigned on the charges in Dedham on January 23rd. That is just 2 days before the AFC Championship game. The wide receiver's attorneys were in court this morning for a hearing, and we are working to learn more about the incident that led to these charges. We did reach out to the Patriots for a statement. We have that for you here. It says the New England Patriots are aware of the accusations that have been made regarding Stefon Diggs. Stefon has informed the organization that he categorically denies the allegations. We support Stefon. We will continue to gather information and will cooperate fully with the appropriate authorities and the NFL as necessary. Out of respect for all of the parties involved, and given that this is an ongoing legal matter, we will have no further comment at this time. We want to bring in Dan Roach now to talk about this with us and the impact, Roachy, that this could have for the team, for the playoffs. We've been on such a roll. How does Coach Vrabel make sure that this doesn't become a distraction for them?
Well, Brianna, I think it's very early in the fact-finding part of this as far as just what happened, how it happened, when it happened, who was involved, and everything else, which we haven't seen or heard yet. So I think that's the first part of it. And then the second part to me is that he categorically denies it when it comes to what happened. So we're going to have to find out the story. Beyond that, I can tell you that as a veteran, a wide receiver, a number one wide receiver coming in, there were questions about Steph Diggs and, how would he behave? How would he handle it? A lot of the number one wide receivers could be divas, if you call it, at times. And he has been nothing but a role model, a perfect citizen in that clubhouse or locker room for this New England Patriots team, so much so that he's emerged as a leader. The players look up to him. I think the coaching staff certainly respects him. And everything that he's done in a Patriots uniform has been good for the team. In fact, just the other day, post-game, after their win over the Jets down in New Jersey, he was speaking in the locker room talking about being 30 yards away from being a 1,000 yard wide receiver, I think, for the 7th time in his career. And he had knee surgery last year and came back. And I think it meant a lot to him. He was almost, to me, kind of emotional, almost in tears, saying he just wants to win, that these milestones don't mean as much to him anymore in his career. At this point of his career, he just wants to win, loves this team, and wants to be a part of them trying to win a Super Bowl. So, like I said, it's again, nothing surprises me, in sports anymore. But I think for everything that we've seen and have been with the guy from day one here in that Patriots locker room, he's been nothing but a role model citizen. So we shall see how it unfolds. But from my perspective, he's been everything you want as a teammate, as a leader, as a New England Patriot so far.
Yeah, Ruchi, certainly a lot of positive things ahead of him. He's a dad, has a new baby with Cardi B. But again, here, the breaking news, he is going to be arraigned 2 days before the AFC Championship. So we will see what happens. We will stay on top of it. Ruchi, thank you for your insight, as always, here.
And of course, the charges themselves may seem self-explanatory to lay people, but there's always a lot to it. We want to enter in WBZ legal analyst Jennifer Roman here to help us make sense of all of this. Jennifer, first things first, we have a felony charge and a misdemeanor charge. Can you explain each one or both?
Sure. So the felony charge would carry with it a much more serious sentence than the misdemeanor charge, and it would include the potential for imprisonment in the state prison.
Let me know if you guys heard about this prior to me coming live with it. Let me know what are your thoughts, whether you're watching now or watching on the replay. Let me know what your thoughts are about these allegations.
Versus just the regular jail. So the nature of the charges make them very different. We don't know if it's a strangulation or a suffocation at this point. We don't really know what the facts are supporting these allegations, but that is definitely the more serious charge of the two. The assault and battery would carry a sentence up to 2.5 years in the House of Correction as a misdemeanor if convicted. Whether or not somebody gets if convicted, whether or not somebody actually receives the type of sentence they receive depends on the nature of the crime, whether or not they accept responsibility in any way, show remorse, but also whether or not there is a prior criminal history here that would support a harsher sentence. So as this all sort of still is unfolding, we really don't know a whole lot. We'll know more at the arraignment later in January. That should provide some more details about what the allegations are and would shed some light on what potential sentence could look like if he's actually convicted.
Okay, so you mentioned that arraignment. That's January 23rd. There was this motion hearing today. Can you explain briefly, lay terms, what motion hearing is?
Sure. It's just a way to ask the court to do something that you want. So in this case, the defense is making a formal request that the file be impounded, which would keep it out of the public purview, would keep it away from the press. Those types of motions, when you're talking about somebody who has the kind of star power that Stefon Diggs has, are not usually granted because we do have public interest in these very public figures. So much of their life is already public. There's not really this heavy privacy interest here. So I would be surprised if the judge allowed the defense motion to impound this file and keep it out of the public purview, but it is a possibility.
Yeah, interesting. A lot of stuff there. All right, Jennifer, thanks so much for your time. And that January 23rd
on the lookout
arraignment.
for updates. The next court date is January 23rd. This statement right here on this side is what the authorities are saying the report says. Yeah. So they said she said that she had trouble breathing and was worried she would black out. The woman then said she had some redness on her upper chest, but she did not take any photographs to document the injuries. Now, why wouldn't you take any photos of your injuries? Wouldn't you? Wouldn't you call 911 right when it happened? I don't know. That sounds a little bit questionable. It definitely sounds a little bit questionable. This is somebody that's not just a nobody. This is a somebody. He's been in the spotlight. He's in the spotlight. He's an NFL player. Why wouldn't you take any pictures of anything, any injuries, so you can have that proof, so you can validate your claim? It says the officer who took the report told her that police could proceed with an investigation and file charges, but the woman declined. She also declined to take out a restraining order against Diggs. But then on December 20th, the woman spoke to the police again. She told the officer that she allegedly received a voicemail and text messages from Diggs' girlfriend. The messages stated something to the effect of, "You don't need to do all of this. It's not that big of a deal." Well, and if that's true, they'll have some kind of evidence about those text messages, right? And I'm wondering who the damn girlfriend was, right? Shit. I wonder who was the girlfriend. Was it Cardi? Was it one of the baby mothers? Was it just, somebody that, he knows? I guess we won't know until, January 23rd, or if it goes further from there, maybe by then, who knows? These charges could be dropped by then. We definitely have to keep an eye out on this, So on December 22nd, she then changed her mind and wanted to proceed with the charges. So if you're just coming in, I'm talking about the charges against Stefon Diggs, the NFL wide receiver for the Patriots, also recently linked to Cardi B. They have a baby together. I'm not sure if you guys, know of him. I'm sure you do, because he has been in the spotlight lately. So the Patriots have said that they are aware of the accusations, and Stefon is just giving, he's there fully cooperating with authorities. He's fully cooperating with the authorities. So, do you think fame protects people, or do you think it puts a bigger spotlight on them? Because I can see it both ways. So what could happen next? Legally, charges could be dropped, they could be reduced, or they can just continue to move forward. We'll see what happens on January 23rd. Hopefully, I'm hoping for his sake, that charges are dropped, and, but I hope there's not a settlement, because then, that makes people think that there was some validity to it. So, NFL wise, the league could wait, because they might put him on a paid leave if they think that, the NFL or their team is gonna be caught in the middle of this. But he could be under review. He could also go under review for personal conduct under the personal conduct policy. And let's be honest, talent buys time in the NFL. Not immunity, but time. So we'll definitely see what goes on in the next few weeks. January 23rd is going to be here soon, sooner than later. So, all right, let's not act brand new. So, Stefon Diggs has multiple children with multiple women. That's public. That's not gossip. And no, that does not automatically mean he's guilty of anything. But I'm also not going to pretend it doesn't raise eyebrows when legal trouble pops up. Because to me, when I hear, multiple baby moms, my first thought is in judgment. Is like, well, I'm not going to lie. It is judgment. It is judgment, especially multiple baby moms in the same year. I think we all have judged him this year because why? Why have you had that many, baby mothers in the same year? But that's not our problem. But that's a lot of emotional traffic, a lot of personalities, a lot of unresolved dynamics. And when there's already so much that's going on, things don't need much pressure before they crack. When you're rich and famous and surrounded by access, you also have choices. So when someone repeatedly ends up in complicated situations, people are gonna ask, is this bad luck? Or is this how this person moves? Patterns don't prove crimes, but patterns absolutely affect public perception. And pretending they don't is dishonest, because I've definitely have judged him this year, and a lot of us have judged Cardi B on her decision of who to be in a situationship with, who to have a baby by, after she dealt with, a toxic marriage. We didn't think that she would move like this, but she did. But this ain't about her. This is about him. And like I said before, if you guys didn't catch it, he has had civil issues in past relationships about domestic violence issues. But like I said, whatever happened in those prior relationships does not mean anything now, does not admit any guilt. So, So is having multiple baby moms off limits in conversations about behavior patterns? What do you guys think? Or is it fair game once everything else is already public?
Mom, I did my screen. Look at it.
So now Cardi B, she's not charged, of course. She's not responsible, of course. But people are side-eyeing because she stepped into a situation that was already layered. And here's the part, that always bothers me. Men have messy histories, people shrug. Women date those men, women get blamed, So of course she's getting blamed and she's getting side-eyed right now, and she's a brand. Cardi's a brand, let's be honest, So her being in a relationship with Stefon definitely might hurt her brand if he is deemed guilty of these charges. Although, like I said, he is innocent until proven guilty. We don't even know if this is going to hit, the courtroom. We don't know anything right now. But, everybody's saying right now, she should have known better. Everything that's been going on this year. Damn. Girl. First the baby mamas, multiple baby mamas. Now this. I know you gotta wonder what the F is going on. I don't know what happened behind those closed doors, but I do know this. Allegations deserve to be taken seriously. Due process matters. Power matters. Patterns matter. And if that woman is telling the truth, she definitely deserves some kind of justice, you know, because the strangulation, if it did happen, could have definitely led to worse, you know. I remember I was with somebody that freaking put their hands around my neck, and that was the end of that relationship. That was the first time and last time he would ever put his hands on me. I remember how it felt to have those hands around my neck, how it felt to feel like I could not breathe. And it's no damn joke. You know, when you're in that moment, it definitely is no joke. You remember every breath you took at that moment. You remember how, you know, a man's strong hands, arms felt around you. So if this did happen, she definitely deserves justice, you know, and he definitely deserves consequences. But, you know, talking about all these things isn't a conviction, it's just a conversation. And this is exactly why I like to do lives like this, you know. I just like to make the public aware, you know, just because you're rich and famous doesn't, you know, give you the freedom to do whatever the hell you want when you want. And people at the end of the day, like I always say, what do I always say, guys? If you guys, you know, have followed my stories, what do I always say about emotions? You have to learn how to deal with your emotions. If you don't like the way somebody is talking to you, get yourself out of that situation. Never ever should it have to get violent. Never ever should you have to put your hands on somebody else, whether it's a male on a female or a female on a male. It is not okay. It is not okay. Hi, Ralph. How are you, Ralph? I'm talking about Stefon Diggs and the recent allegations against him. But, you know, these are just allegations. There's no proof yet. You know, she didn't even take pictures of her alleged redness around her chest or anything like that. Supposedly there are text messages, but not between him and her and him and the woman. There was text messages between a girlfriend and her, telling her that it was not that serious. But we'll see, you know, we'll see what comes to the, you know, court's attention. We'll see what proof they have, what evidence they have, you know. But like I was saying, learn how to deal with your emotions. Never put your hands on anybody, you know. Yeah, money definitely makes people goofy. Definitely. But I hope that, you know, I hope that he is innocent, because he got too much going on in his life anyway. And he got too many children to be away from if he is guilty, you know. But everybody should learn how to deal with their emotions, because if you don't know how to deal with your emotions, you know, it can lead to something bad. And like I said, being feeling like you're being strangled is not a good feeling. That pressure on your throat, that pressure on your neck, those hands you don't forget around your neck, no matter how many years go by, you're still always going to remember that. You're going to remember the feeling of losing your breath. Losing your breath is not fun at all. You know, it's scary. I'm talking from experience. Feeling like you're losing breath from somebody's hands around your neck is no joke. So I really hope these charges are just allegations. So this is why I do these lives. So if you like these conversations that feel real, please stick around, like, share, comment, subscribe, because when updates happen, we talk about them, and we talk about them like adults. I don't like to speculate. I don't like to, come up with lies for views or engagement. I like to talk from what I research and what I see as being factual, and of course, my opinion every now and then, all the time. So this case is still unfolding. More information will come out. Opinions will shift. There will be many channels, content creators having a lot of speculation, coming up with stories up their ass. Just like, so that's how social media does. If you would like to donate to my channel, my Cash App is on the screen. It is BXQueenC. Also, in my bio description, I do have my Cash App link if links are more accessible for you. My Cash App link, my coffee link. I also have an Amazon gift list if you would like to gift myself or my boys. So yeah, I will definitely be looking out for updates. January 23rd is the next court date. So I don't know what's going to come from now and then, but I will definitely keep you updated. And I hope you guys can join me for that conversation. But once narratives form, they're hard to undo. So let's slow things down. Drop your thoughts in the comments if you're watching the replay. If this kind of conversation is your vibe, hit that subscribe button, because this isn't the last time we'll be talking about stuff like this. I love to talk about trending topics. I love to bring it to you guys, and I love to hear what you guys have to say, what your opinions are, what your thoughts are. So I appreciate everybody that passed through today. I appreciate everybody that's going to watch the replay.
I love you, Mom.
I love you. Say bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening.
So, all right, y'all.
All right.
I'll catch you on the next one. Bye.
Bye.